This video is proudly sponsored by DigimonCard.io for all your Digimon card, deck building, deck list, card pricing, and discussion needs. Hey everyone, Eggman here with another video, and today we have a top 16 breakdown for Top Cut's Ultimate Cup that happened this past weekend. There were 450 players, 8 rounds for this top 16 that we see here today. And real quick before we get started, first shoutouts to Top Cut for running the event, letting me have these deck lists, as well as letting myself and DigiPanda do the commentary for the event. It's a lot of fun to do it, and I do just really appreciate the opportunity. And if you guys want to see that, it is on Twitch right now, and will be re-uploaded to YouTube in these next couple of days, so make sure to be on the lookout for that. Also, make sure to follow DigiPanda. Link to their YouTube is in the description. Really appreciate all the help and everything else for this weekend for it. And also, while we're subscribing, please make sure to hit that like and subscribe button for this video. We're trying to get to 9,000 subs by the end of the year, so we've got 1 month to do it. I think we can do it. And honestly, this video did take a lot of effort just because I'm on the road. I'm not at my regular computer, and I just would super duper appreciate it. Anyways, going into this top 16 breakdown, we do have 7 MetalGaruru X, 3 Hydramons, 2 security controls, 2 yellow hybrids, a Gaiomon, and a blue flare. And we've just been seeing a little bit more of this MetalGaruru X just creeping more and more into these top 16s. It's obviously, I don't think it hasn't topped an event in the past. Since release, since BT9, I think MetalGaruru X has topped every single big event that we've had, at least like over 100 players in North America. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but that is just a fact. But also, I do just going through these lists and inputting them, the top 5 all being MetalGaruru was a little telltale of like, oh man, maybe this is starting to get trouble territory. Anyways, we're going to look at the top placing deck list for each one of these archetypes that we see here today, starting off with Christian Go's first place MetalGaruru X. Starting off, we have Christian Go's first place MetalGaruru X, and I don't have a lot to say about this archetype that I haven't said over the last couple months, besides it's just a very, very strong archetype right now, if not the best archetype in the game. And the worst thing about an archetype that's so strong like this is that most of the builds look almost identical. It's really getting to blue hybrid levels of kind of congruency with these deck lists for a lot of it. I will say that this is an Ultimate Cup, so we do get mulligans, so you do get to be a little bit more crazy with some of your ratios, including just having, 11 rookies here, 11 Goblimons, so you got something interesting there. I do like Hammer Spark in this deck, and I think it definitely was something that helped Christian for the day. And again, even though this is the best deck, in my opinion, going around right now, it doesn't mean that it's a free win in a lot of ways. And I do just want to shout out Christian for their first place finish. We were lucky enough to catch a couple of his games from the event. I believe 3 rounds we were able to start and watch his games. And he was just a solid player all around, and just definitely deserved and earned this win for this day. So just congrats to Christian for their finish. Really, really well done and well earned, in my opinion. And we're just going to see a lot of this still, in my mind, until we see any adjustments for some of the ratios for it. I do also want to shout out Dan Vang's list too. Strictly 1 because it is a kind of different. We do see the Mimi. It's just 1 tech card, but it's a really interesting one. I do think it helps the matchup for you, especially in the mirror match at times, because they want to be playing their X antibodies. They want to be playing their Hammer Sparks. They want to even be playing their Ice Walls, and being able to play the Mimi to gain that extra memory can be great. It also means your X antibodies can gain a memory when you play them, which can be just like another version of a Hammer Spark, which is really nice. Dan also was in the finals. Spoilers, he lost, and he did get bumped all the way down to 9th place for that. So just shout out to Dan. So sorry that happens. That's really rough. Definitely well played from him as well. And that the finals was amazing. I know you guys are going to be spoiled with it just by watching, this video, but I highly recommend watching it still. It was a really, really fun match to watch, commentate, and I think it was really close. So anyways, congrats to Dan as well for their finish, and so sorry about that top 8 bump out there. Anyways, going next to our 6th place list, this is Brandon's Hydramon. And again, I'm going to just call all these Bloom Lord list Hydramon because they're the new card. Even if you're running more of the Bloom Lords, it's just the newer card. But at this point, I think it's pretty solidly decided that of the EX3 decks that we have, and even though this is like a BT10, Hydramon and Bloom Lord is just in a really, really good spot. Before EX3, we didn't really have any interaction with our opponent with these decks, and Hydramon, the new Pomamon, really just lets you say, you know what, I get to suspend my opponent's Digimon at times, and I get to do some control stuff. And just the fact that Hydramon's effect for the memory gain is all turns can be very, very tricky to navigate around at times, and I think that's very strong. So I don't have a lot more to say. I do think this is probably the most successful kind of BT10 EX3 archetype that we have, and it's strong. It's not where, or, MetalGaruru X strong, but I think it's in a good spot, and especially in a time where green hasn't been seeing a lot of plays, I think it's very strong. Some other text we see is Nidhoggmon and also the the Meta Breaker Death Xmon in this build too. So definitely could help you for some matches there, but I don't have much more to say then. Congrats to Brandon for their finish, and it is nice to see green in the format again. It's been a while, and it's outside of an OTK grandest, that is just kind of a more traditional green list would probably be better way to say it, and that's all I have to say for it. So next up we do have the 8th place list. It is Susa Yang's Gaiomon, and you know, if I remember correctly, Susa has definitely been someone who's been hooked on this Blackboard Raymond and Gaiomon list for a while, and this is something of an archetype that we haven't been seeing too much in the current format, even though I would say a lot of people, including myself, was expecting it to be kind of a rogue pick, but a pick that would definitely get some top 16 finishes. And as far as I know, this is the first top 16 finish for the deck since BT10 dropped in North America at any regional level or like online premier size event. So it's definitely people wanting to run it, but it's just not getting there. And in my opinion, it's probably because Crossheart, which was probably one of this deck's best matchups, does not exist anymore, so you don't have that counter there for it. But it's still a strong list. I do like what it does. In general, the Agumon X package is such a strong package that, obviously it makes this deck work. It makes Greymon X work at times too. And there's just so much flexibility that you get to do with it. It's really, really nice. I don't have any other kind of things except for, they are running the pack. I'm the one who inputted this. If this is wrong, this is on me. I'm 99% sure it's this Omnimon X. If it's the wrong one, please someone let me know. I'll fix it in the description and fix it in this deck list here. But I think he's running this one, which makes sense because you're making a really tall stack with usually a lot of sources, especially with the X antibody, and so you do get the benefits from it there. I think both are great, and since you're doing a more control archetype, this makes sense for this one. You're playing a Kong, you're playing a win rate 60%, you're playing a Cool Boy, and then some Red Mem boost too. No Tamers in this list, which is really interesting. Normally, besides Cool Boy, like no red Tamers, because normally you want like either a tie or some you have like a hero for it, but just deciding it is not needed here. So anyways, I really still do like this archetype, and I'm happy to see it make an appearance here, and we'll have to see if it makes any more appearances in the next couple weeks. So again, congrats to Susa for their finish there. And next up we have our 10th place security control list, and this is really looking more, and this is Peter's list, and looking more like a BT9 kind of variant we've been seeing with it, just like this purple yellow split between it. We do have like the new card that is Venusmon, and Venusmon I will say is incredibly strong in this kind of unofficial archetype of security control. This really does shut off your opponent's next turn a lot of the time, which is great. And there's just buying that turn sometimes can help you stabilize or get enough things to do with your memory that you can do what you need to do, essentially. So this is a great card, and I think it's been very strong for any kind of yellow, like we'll probably see in yellow hybrid, but also just security control. It's just like grid kind of top in there, and I think that's strong. Everything else is, I'd say, pretty standard. We do have a bunch of tamers, especially these purple ones are just so obnoxious for your opponent. Kari being able to, say every time you do damage to me, you have to, you lose a memory. For that, the first time you do damage, rather, you lose that memory. So that's very strong there. Mimi as well. So being able to have a couple of these out just means that your opponent is kind of memory locked because they can't do anything without losing 2-3 memory, and that can really stink there. And then Kari and TK as well for our tamers. And just using like the old package, I even say old, it's not even that old, of just like Avenge Kidmon, Junimon, and Calling from the Darkness, just for some cycle, being able to, like, if you go for a very, very long game, you get to not deck yourself out, which is really strong. And I wouldn't be surprised if like one of the main ways that this deck wins and got game wins this weekend was just from your opponent doing too much card draw and then just kind of decking themselves out, which is strong and a way to win in its own right. So anyways, I think security control is in a pretty good spot right now, especially since it does have some potentially good matchups against MetalGaruru X, which is really rampant right now, and it's probably tiered like 1.5. And I do like security control too, because everyone will have their own build, and a lot of these cards are ratios that you personally choose. There's very, very few cards that you have to rent like 4 of compared to a lot of our other archetypes, and I think that's very strong. Anyways, this is Peter's list. Congrats to their 10th place there. And next up we have Raymond's 12th place, Blue Flare. And this is like the most unique Blue Flare list I've ever seen for it. There are some really interesting card choices and choices in general for this. And I'm very, very surprised it got 12th place, I'll be honest with you. So going through it, we do have the Gaiomon at 4 and the Betamon at 2, and those are the only rookies we're running this. We're running 6 rookies in this deck, which is not a lot, but we do have a bunch of these champions that we don't mind playing for cheap, like Hydramon, Greymon, and MetalGaruru. All these have on plays as well, which is great. Hydramon lets you draw cards, Greymon lets you search cards, and MetalGaruru lets you either return a Metal Gray or play a tamer from our hand, which is the Kariha, which is really nice. We also do have some hybrid stuff, 2 Kumamons and 2 Korikakus as well, which can help do some more stun, especially since we are running like the one of Tommy. So this is like a blue flare that kind of got merged with a blue hybrid list as well, which is neat. And then we have the Decker Greymons, the Metal Greymons, Cyberdramon, one of, and then we also just have like Cannondramon as like an okay top end for it. I haven't seen like level 6s in these decks, but most of them have been like Magnamon X, which is really interesting, and then also the Leopardmon as well, which when digivolving you play one level 4 lower Digimon or of one of your card Digimon as another Digimon without paying its memory cost, and then all of your level 4 lowers gain jamming. So that's interesting there, especially since like you can use like Leopardmon to like play like Greymon, I guess, and then you can have like the sources for like another Metal Greymon. There's some like interesting plays for it. Unfortunately, this is like a level 5, so this won't get jamming from it, which is sometimes what you want to do with it. But if you do like play like a Greymon from underneath it, you get to proc the on-play effect from it, which is great because all of these rookies have on-plays, and then from there you can like, if it lives next turn, it has jamming, and then you can use it for like a Digicross as well if needed. So it's a really interesting tech, obviously at 1. And then the Blazing Memory Boost isn't too crazy, the Howling Mem Boost, the Ice Wall, and then 3 of the Sorai, which is a card I didn't really have my eye on until later, until the release of EX3, but being able to do some stun here with this card too, of trash in top 4 Devolution cards of one of your opponent's Digimon, till the end of your opponent's turn, all of your opponent's Digimon with no Digimon cards can't attack, which is great there too. So I think this is a strong list, very unconventional, but I do like to see something well, and at least Blue Flare did get a top in North America. I think this is its first one since release, or one of its very few ones, if not, and I really do believe in this deck. But again, I think it's definitely overshadowed by just how successful the MetalGaruru X is, and I don't think that's going to change like naturally, I'll say. Anyways, congrats to Raymond on their finish there. And to end the video, we do have Lewis's 14th place Yellow Hybrid. And Yellow Hybrid is, despite kind of how I would say oppressive it was during the end of its reign, is still kind of one of my favorite decks as a package, right? There's so many kind of cool archetypes and kind of weird things you can do, even though like Yellow Hybrid is traditionally a pretty large package. Having that as your backbone for some kind of neater top end stuff and everything else I think was really cool, and it was just kind of taken away with the limiting of Jet Sylphie, just because there's not really an easy way to go up your chains after the limiting of that. So but there are some really cool things that you can still do. Obviously a little bit less consistent, but I do like what it does. And right now too, like just watching it, if you are able to just like set up some tamers, you still can just win the game by just having 6 memory, 3 tamers, and 3 hybrids in your hand, and just sending them one after the other, swinging in and doing that. So I think it's a very strong list going in here right now. We do have like a new top end in Venusmon, which is interesting. I do like the ad there. And this one also ran Shakuomon, which is cool, and like a single Cordramon, which you could do the DNA into Shakuomon if you get that there. We do have the Lonky as well as one of our new security cards. If you're at exactly 3 security, you get to do both of a minus 12k and placing one Digimon face down on their security stack from your opponent's side, which is cool. Sunrise Buster we're running one of because we can't run more. Yellow Memboost, TKs, and our Zoe, Cody's, and also our Tai and Kari as well. Just seems like a really strong list. I like what it did, and it was really fun to watch like this list in action too. So congrats to Lewis on their finish. It's probably going to make me like dust off my yellow hybrid stuff and try it again, which I like the deck. So we'll see if it's good enough to kind of hang in this EX3 meta we have here. But that is going to be it for us. Again, shoutouts to Top Cut for giving me these lists to give to you guys. Make sure to follow DigiPanda, and I'll catch you all next time.